As the 2019-2020 academic year draws near amid uncertainty in the northwest and southwest regions of the country hit by socio-political and security crisis for close to 3 years today, back-to-school campaigns are intensifying. Authorities are stepping up efforts to ensure a hitch-free back-to-school come September 2, 2019. The governor of the Northwest Regional DOF, Lily Africa, has been visiting some parts of the northwest region of the country campaigning for back to school. Also in this newscast, we'll talk about the coalition government announced in the Democratic Republic of Congo after an agreement between the current president of that country, Felix Tshisekedi, and the former president, Joseph Kabila, who will get the lion's share of the 66-member cabinet. That is it for our top stories. Ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on this edition of the news on Equinox Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Babla Jonathan. We begin this newscast with news concerning Mancho BBC, the coffin revolutionists, and other detainees of the Anglophone crisis who were recently forced out of the maximum security prison in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, after the network of human rights defenders in Central Africa, REDAC, dismissed information concerning the death that had been circulating on social media. Here comes the turn of the Ministry of Communication, and the Minister of Communication, René Emmanuel Sadi, has equally said that they are not dead. Mancho BBC and the other detainees who were forced out of the Yaoundé principal prison after the protest move in that incarceration center are alive, according to the Minister of Communication, who put this information on the Twitter. And after the publication of results of the 2019 General Certificate of Education GC Ordinary and Advanced Levels, our Boye-based correspondent Derek Jato visited some schools in the Southwest Regional Capital today and says students were on campus checking and confirming their results on the notice boards, while the administrators are on seat preparing for the next academic year.
Congratulations. Though these candidates say they got the 2019 GCE result first from the social media, but they are today visiting their centers to confirm the said result. And at Somerset, for instance, the results were already pasted on the school notice board, and Mr. Wendim Rudolph, principal of the said institution, told Equinox Television that even the result slips are already available on the campus.
As of now, we have already received the slips for the students. It's something worth commendable as an administrator of a school.
At Government Technical High School Moleko Boya, the senior discipline master, Mr. Nchumbeng Festus, says his school is once again very busy.
With the release of the 2019 technical GCE result, the school this morning was very buoyant.
And we met one of his successful candidates.
I would the GCE technical that only have done this year, and I'm one of the successful candidates.
His identity is not revealed here for obvious reasons, but he is happy, though regretting that some of his friends that were supposed to write the said exams were chased by the war out of Boya.
The other one were happy, the other one were not happy. In the same way, I feel sad for them.
Holiday classes going on. Application files for admission being received. Was the picture of Bilingual Grammar School Moleko Boya.
The results were good. I want to thank all my members of staff for the effort put together. You know the circumstances under which we worked.
As they prepare for the new academic year, with them, we are back to school campaign messages.
I'm here because I went to school, and I believe that there will be some of us when they go to school.
It is their right to be educated. because education is the base, I can say, for humanity.
Critics say it is with hope and courage that these academic stakeholders wait for September.
And as days boil down to September 2nd, 2019, when the current or the next academic year will kick off, authorities are stepping up a back-to-school campaign that had earlier been launched by Mancho, BBC, and other coffin revolutionists from their prison cells in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. Campaigns are going on in the two Anglophone regions of the country hit by socio-political and security crisis for close to 3 years today, after 2 academic years seriously affected by the deepening Anglophone crisis. Another academic year is coming amid uncertainty looming as a result of the unstable socio-political situation in those 2 regions. In the northwest region, Governor Adolphe Lafrique has been visiting some parts of the region or his area of command, campaigning for back to school. When the governor reached Kumbu, chief town of the Bui division, the divisional delegates of basic and secondary education, some divisional officers, and the mayor, as well as funds, were absent. Statistics from the Bui senior divisional officer and the education stakeholders indicate that no child attended primary school in the Bui division last year, and scholarships worth over 1 million francs CFA were returned into the state coffers because the pupils and students could not be traced. And the governor was also in Cambe, where the population turned out in their numbers to listen to the governor, despite the unstable socio-political and security situation in the region. And in the southwest region, authorities are equally intensifying efforts to ensure a hitch-free back to school come September 2nd. And some ex-students from the Manu division have equally embarked on a back to school campaign, as Derek Jato reports.
The 2019-2020 academic year is at the corner, and there is one cry among the academic stakeholders in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon.
It's back to school. That is the common cry now from every nook and corner. Everybody wants these children because we don't see how our next generation will be a group of illiterates.
We are praying very hard that this time around they should have pity on us for the children to go to school.
For 3 years now, schools here have been seriously hit by the war. Today, members of Ex-Students Association, Presbyterian High School Bisongabang, Betsa, a village in Manu Division, are meeting for the 29th edition of their General Assembly in Boya. Mr. Kale Samuel, the Education Secretary of the PCC, one-time principal of PHS Bisongabang, explained to these ex-students what has become of their alma mater.
To be candid, this academic year ending, the school could not function because of repeated invasion from unknown gunmen.
Reason why Dr. Ayong Orok Hans, BEXA president, says that a sense of fulfillment will only set in if one day they go back and see students on campus, a campus that nurture them.
We'll always be happy to go back once in a while and visit the school and see that there are students there and they are benefiting from what we have benefited from.
To the host, Mr. Daniel Eno Agbo, BEXA President Buya Chapter, while preparing for school resumption, BEXA should also be preparing to accompany the campaign, and September, per the calendar, is the month for school resumption.
Coming up in this newscast, we'll tell you the story of a less than 3-month-old baby, Andy Alex. The baby was born in the bush in the southwest region of the country with a frightening malformation and health complications at the level of the health, and this is because the mother spent her period of pregnancy in the bush without any medical attention, and of course the child was born with a serious malformation. However, the good news is that the child has undergone a successful surgery, which I'll be bringing to you that story in the course of this newscast. In the meantime, we'll talk about inundations in the city of Douala. Today was a rainy day in Cameroon's economic capital, and several parts of the town were flooded. We now take you to some parts of the Douala 4 municipality where floods disrupted activities following the heavy downpour. Details with Fomi Armstrong Sander.
Ashedera, as it is popularly known in French, in Bonaberi, Douala 4 subdivision. We are on the west entryway into the city of Douala. The construction of the west entryway into the city of Douala is considered as one of the key projects to lift the face of Cameroon's economic capital. But the work, even before its official reception, is already marred by a series of irregularities. Since the construction company left, we have been suffering here at Bonaberi. The government needs to do something within 1 week, or we block the road for all road users. The market and the roundabout turns into a large pool of water each time it rains. This is more than we can bear. When it rains, nobody is able to cross the rails. Worst of all, government officials watch without shame as we suffer. It is quite unfortunate. The situation has adversely affected economic and social activities in the neighborhood. When it rains, everything comes to a standstill here. No one is able to move, buy or sell anything. It gets worse and complicated on Sundays when people dress to go to church and are unable to cross because of the large deep pool of standing water.
We're not just there for go for church.
Among those who pay the heavy price are traders at Rye Market. We sell vegetable. Buyers no longer come to buy because of water. The wish of every trader and inhabitant of the neighborhood is for the government of Cameroon to act instantly by demanding the road construction company to redo the drainage system, which is believed to be the root cause of the problem.
Increase in the prices of basic commodities and markets across the Republic of Cameroon is further complicating the already very difficult living conditions of many Cameroonians. It is becoming more and more difficult to put food on the table, and the increase in prices is has also provoked a slump in business. Hermine Iluga takes us to Lum in the Mongo division of the Littoral region of Cameroon.
Feeding in homes is more and more a major worry to heads of families and housewives in particular. Goods have become expensive in market, and it is with no distinction of zones. In Lum, for instance, where farming prunes the lifestyle of most inhabitants, dwellers are fed up of unspeakable price hike.
Tu viens au marché, mais avec 3 000, tu n'arrives même pas à faire le marché. Même ce que nous cultivons, même dans la...
You come to the market with 3,000 francs, yet you can't meet up. Banana which we bought in the past, 10 fingers for 100 francs, today we buy 11 for 200 francs.
Aujourd'hui, c'est 11 doigts à 200.
While buyers expect a drop in prices of basic commodities, traders on your part say business is tough. A good to be sold at 10,000 francs, buyers propose 3,000, but we are obliged to trade this way because we have kids to care for. At first, by 9 a.m., I should have sold all my goods. Today till 2 p.m., I still have unsold spices. Business is too tough. The population hazards all the business difficulties is blamed on the current Anglophone crisis. When husbands give feeding money, it is impossible to eat meat, not to talk of chicken. With the situation out there, we are facing the consequences. The cause of all of this is the Anglophone crisis. Meantime, perceptions still vary. Other traders have it. The increase in prices is as a result of the poor homologation of prices by the government. We are also threatened by the government. At times, we have price controllers. More so when goods get into the country, they are not homologated. They shouldn't allow such goods to get into the country. People are more and more fed up. It's a fact of the situation on the ground. The said Anglophone crisis remains a nightmare to Cameroonians who find it difficult to feed off the country's natural yields.
Out of Cameroon, the president of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Félix Tshisekedi, and his predecessor, Joseph Kabila, have agreed to form a coalition government. The announcement was made by the chief negotiator last night, confirming reports from Friday that the two camps had made the agreement, and 66 members will make up the cabinet. 42 positions will be held by Kabila's coalition and 23 will be held by Tshisekedi's alliance. Prime Minister Sylvestre Lunkamba was proposed by Joseph Kabila. Holders of the other positions are yet to be named. It comes 7 months after Tshisekedi's alliance won the election. Questions were raised at the time about the accuracy of the results amid accusations that Tshisekedi and Kabila had made a pre-election power-sharing deal. That's it for the first part of this newscast. Coming up next, Talking Point. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us in Talking Points. We are receiving a civil society leader and historian, Gilbert NGIMNDOH. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Hansen. Thank you very much for getting me today.
The GC results have been published, and there's been an increase over 11% in the success rate compared to the previous years. As a historian, a teacher, an educationist, what's your opinion about these results and the academic climate?
My opinion cannot be anything less than positive. Positive in that from last year, a greater number of Anglophone Cameroonians are gaining conscience, and they are beginning to take measures to get their children back to school. Some of them who have got the means to trespass into this other side where we believe is peaceful, though not yet, though not anything peaceful, where they could school. I think that is the first thing that led to the increase in the number of intake by the board this year. I mean, the increase in the number of candidates that sat for the exams this year, though in some disciplines I think the number was like decreased. But generally there was an increase in the number of candidates, and that explains the increase in the rate of success by the GCE results. The second thing I would like to say there is the efficient nature the board has been of late, because I think back 2-3 years we used to have situations where the dates, the deadlines set for exams are later shifted for some inconveniences or not. But this time the board was prompt a lot. The board was prompt in everything it did. The date for registration was set, the date for writing was set, questions came on time, everything went on successfully, and I think that accounts for, because students at every time want to see or want to capitalize, want to seize opportunity from any weakness of the teaching, the board, or whatsoever, in order to perform poorly. But this time the board kept everything to deadlines, and I think that can be a reason why this increase in the success rate.
It should, however, be noted that there are several students who could not write, who ought to have been a part of the 2019 session of the GCE, but they didn't because of the security situation in the two Anglophone regions of the country. And now back-to-school campaigns are gaining grounds in the two regions. The governor of the Northwest region moving from one division to the other, campaigning for back-to-school, and of course other political and civil society leaders as well, and even the detainees, Mancho BBC. Do you think that these campaigns can yield any positive fruits with regards to the present situation in those two regions?
Thank you very much. The situation is very, very lamentable. We must acknowledge that. We say this with tears, our hearts bleed. While some 4 years back, the board used to run exams for candidates over 90,000, 100 and something thousand. But what are we talking about now? We talk about 40 something thousand, far below half. And these children who are supposed to be in school are hiding in bushes. Some of them are out of the country. Some of them are just in the houses and are being hunted up and down by the military, believing they are separatists. The military who have failed to situate who is a separatist from who is struggling to make life out of that kind of bad situation. In fact, it is lamentable. But then the issue here is these back-to-school campaigns, right from the person who initiated the revolution himself, will only materialize if some irresponsible, mark me, some very irresponsible government officials who have been very provocative with that situation, and who we don't know if they are making a lot of a war economy out of this situation. War economy where they are gaining a lot. They are feeling comfortable as the crisis intensifies, and they have been so provocative, taking positions only in areas where the situation will continue to dampen, get worse and worse and worse.
And the situation has continued.
Yes, don't be surprised that the governor of the Northwest intensifies campaign, the Southwest intensified campaign, and at the end of it, one government minister gets up and gives a statement that will irritate those separatists and they create insecurity, and the whole situation gets worse again. The Cameroon ministers are used to that.
The situation has remained unstable till now, and when you get statistics coming from the senior division officer of the Bui division, for example, and other stakeholders indicating that no pupil attended school in the Bui division in the whole of last year. Well, what do you think about the upcoming academic year? Is there going to be an improvement in this?
It will be an improvement if the government authorities of that division, the elite of that division, and if the youth themselves put hands together. If they put hands together and go into any kind of negotiation, because let us be very frank on this, those campaigns will materialize if negotiations are done from the grassroots. If we continue to wait from the government has already demonstrated a very bad side of it as far as the crisis are concerned. Bad faith has been demonstrated. So I feel that division should do everything. The elite there hold the whole thing in their hands.
How should that bad faith be corrected?
The bad faith should be corrected in that the elite and the stakeholders in that division should challenge government by going back to their division, negotiate with whoever. I don't want to call any name, but negotiate with whoever so that this situation can take a different dimension. What dimension am I talking about? Allowing these children to go to school and make life out of themselves, then the struggle can continue in any way. I don't want to be misquoted, but I must be very clear that it is lamentable that in a whole division, an administrative unit, children don't go to school. We are talking of no people going to school. That means what happens to all those primary schools? What happened to all the secondary schools? It is not only lamentable, it is even shameful in the eyes of the government. Unfortunately, those who are supposed to take measure fit very far from it, I must repeat, and until proven, I repeat, they fit so far from it, and they use statements and actions that will continue to get the situation from a bad one to a worse one and keep it like that.
And these are some of the things, including human rights violations and abuse in the two Anglophone regions that have been highlighted by non-governmental organizations, civil society leaders who are said to have painted a very bleak image of Cameroon, compelling government to go seek the expertise of some Americans, some former colleagues or some former aides of Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz, who is a former U.S. candidate, to cleanse the image of the country, paying them $115,000 a month. What do you think about this?
Well, the situation is not only about Cameroon, because such situations had occurred in other countries in the world. I remember I read that very article you're talking about, and the allusion is made to the same team having worked for a Filipino dictator, Ferdinand Marcos. That same team tried to wipe the atrocities committed by that dictator. That is to say that it is not only the case of Cameroon. But when it comes to the case of Cameroon,
but they are criticized by other Americans who think that Cameroonians cannot be dying, people cannot be killed, houses burnt, and they accept that kind of project to come cleanse the image of Cameroon.
What is very important here is that information is very clear that the U.S. Congress had already adopted a motion which is pushed to the U.S. Senate for them to adopt and then push to the president as procedure warrant. So this firm that is coming in, first and foremost, is not a public-owned on, a U.S. public-owned on. Therefore, their pressure will certainly have limit. I mean, their pressure in trying to clean that mess from the name of Cameroon. The Cameroon government is already so saddled now that anything they are doing to try to clean their name in the face of international bodies and international associations is simply, I don't think it can materialize in any way. But the UNO
using taxpayers' money up to $115,000 to pay the experts per month
in this country now. In this country now, what is in this country now is money no longer goes out in-house. I think by 10 o'clock in the morning, it is difficult to send money out. You cannot even send money out up to a certain amount. That shows the fiscal difficulty in which this problem into it. Crises are deepening and deepening, and those are whooping sums that are used to bribe people instead of a decision. Why is all this? Simply because the country has been wrapped up in the hands of some important people, not institutions. In the hands of some important people who have established a personality cult, and they are characterized by a lot of the despite of everything. They look down on everybody, they look down on every decision, they look down on every call, and believe that as long as they are there, things can be the way they are. I am talking of the president of this country. Without mincing words, we are talking of the president of this country. Look at the situation where the Prime Minister has been to the English regions. He has brought statements that could bring down the temperament in the Anglophone society, but somebody just left and sat somewhere and declared that it will not be the way the Prime Minister wants, and nothing has been done about it. Right, that shows that the President himself cannot deny that he sent him to counter what the Prime Minister has said. That's the state of which this country is now. They will do everything to continue to maintain the status quo that way.
Thanks so much, Gilbert NGIMNDOH. You're a historian and a civil society leader. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We're going to bring to you the story of less than 3-month-old Andy Alex. Tomorrow, the good news is that the child has undergone a successful head surgery and is responding to treatment. We'll bring to you that story tomorrow. That's it for this edition of the news on Equinox Television. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Goodbye.